160 BC, 3735 AM. Judas Maccabees begins his reign over Judea, beginning the Hasmonean dynasty. As Judah fell to Babylon in 585 BC, this was 585 years after the Israelites fell to Assyria in 745 BC. 159 BC, 3736 AM. The Roman Scipio Nasica instituted the first water clock, which divided the hours of the day and night. 1 Pliny, Natural History, Zoology. 153 BC, 3742 AM. Celtiberia revolts against Rome. The Romans attempt to assault Numantia, the Celtic capital of Celtiberia, but fail more than once. This was 792 years after Solomon sold 20 Israelite cities to Phoenicia in 945 BC, these people being the ancestors of the Celts in Iberia. This defeat of the Romans was the 600th year since the founding of Rome in 753 BC. It was 560 years since Judah was delivered by God from the Assyrians in 713 BC, and 432 years since the fall of Judah. 149 BC, 3746 AM. During an anti-Carthaginian speech in Rome, Cato the censor pulled out a ripe fig before the Senate and asked the other senators when they believed the fig had been plucked from the tree. All the senators agreed that it was very fresh, to which Cato answered, "Know this, it was plucked 2 days ago in Carthage. That's how near the enemy are to our walls." At once Rome initiated the Third Punic War. This was exactly 1080 years after the ancestors of the Romans, the Trojans, fell in the fall of Troy in 1229 BC. This year was 600 years after the Romans raped the Sabine women in 749 BC. And this was the 360th year of the Roman Republic in 509 BC. 1 Pliny, Natural History, Botany. 146 BC, 3749 AM. Roman general Publius Cornelius Scipio Africanus conquered Carthage in the Third Punic War. He was named Africanus in commemoration of his victories over the Carthaginians. This Third Punic War was entirely unprovoked, but was a matter of Roman will to be supreme in the Mediterranean, to expand its foreign holdings and to rid itself of an archaic enemy. By this time Carthage could not match the resources of Rome, which had enslaved entire populations, sold off the people for profit and annexed their lands. It took 6 days of street fighting to finally subdue Carthage, 50,000 people surviving out of the 250,000 who defended the city against the Romans. The immense and very ancient library of Carthage was over 500,000 texts, many from ancient Phoenicia. The Romans destroyed the whole library, most of the records irretrievably lost. The 50,000 survivors are sold into the Mediterranean slave market, a lucrative source of Roman wealth. The city is burnt, buildings pulled down, and the fields are ripped up and ploughed with salt, so as to prevent the growth of crops. Many priceless works of antiquity were destroyed or stolen. With the fall of the last Semitic superpower of the Old World, only Judea of the Semitic world still continued under its own rulers. The fall of Carthage was 666 years after the founding of the city in 812 BC. Also in this year the Romans put an end to the last of Greek resistance. The city of Corinth is the last to stand up to the Roman beast. Corinth falls and the Romans put all the men to the sword. The women and children are gathered and sold as slaves. They ended the Achaean League, and all of Greekdom was now under the Roman authority. The fact that both Greece and Carthage fell to Rome in the same year, 146 BC, denotes a common link, a connection between the Phoenician-descended people and the Ionian Danaan-descended peoples. Of course, this chronology has already demonstrated these links, i.e. the many Israelite migrations and assimilations. 1. Elder gods in antiquity. 2. A short history of the world. 3. The naked Olympics. 144 BC, 3751 AM. Despite that Rome now occupied Greece, the Greeks still hold their Olympic festival. Rome's first aqueduct is constructed, the length of 35 miles. This was provided for by Quintius Marcius, a praetor, and is called the Aqua Marcia. 1. The Naked Olympics. 2. Pliny, Natural History Footnote 1. 143 BC, 3752 AM. Simon Maccabee becomes a Jewish hero by leading a successful revolt that freed Judea from Syrian control, Judea forming the Second Jewish Commonwealth. This was 3896 years since Earth adopted this new orbit around the Sun, between Venus and Mars, or 1948 plus 1948 years. Recall that Abraham was born in 1948 AM, 1947 BC, and that the modern state of Israel was begun in 1948 AD. 141 BC, 3754 AM. When pulling down the house of the Chinese philosopher Confucius, a copy of the ancient Shu King text was discovered to have been hidden in a wall. This text covers Chinese antiquities spanning back from before the flood concerning Chinese versions of Enoch and Noah, covering history to 721 BC. This year, 721 BC, happened to be the final year of Israel's existence, only Judah remaining after all the Israelites were gone into captivity. Noah was born in 2839 BC, or the year 1056 Annus Mundi, and incidentally, this was the year 1056 of the ancient Chinese calendar that began in 1197 BC. 139 BC, 3756 AM. In this year, Jewish ambassadors brought back from Rome a senatorial decree recognizing the independence of the Jewish state. Also, the first Jewish community was established in the Roman Empire. This was the 792nd year of the divided kingdom, and the 864th year from the establishment of the Davidic dynasty in 1003 BC. Also in this year, the ancient Chaldei, astrologers in Rome, also known as the Mathematici, were expelled from Rome and all of Italy. They had enjoyed a long-standing profession that dated at least back to the rule of the kings, 753 to 509 BC. The origin of the order of the Chaldei is traced back to 1555 BC, or 1416 years earlier, to the Chaldean astrologer Balaam of Mesopotamia, infamous in the biblical record. Balaam took up residence in Italia with Zepho the king, who was the grandson of Esau. Balaam lived 21 years in Italia until Zepho died in 1534 BC. Balaam was instructed in the arts and sciences of the Anunnaki, being from Babylonia. This year was 66 Jubilees after 3439 BC, when the Watchers descended to earth and taught mankind forbidden knowledge. The entire duration of the Roman government, from the founding of the city in 753 BC to the fall of Rome to the Germans in 476 AD, was 1229 years. This mirrored the fact that the ancestors of the Romans, the Trojans, fell in 1229 BC. The sum of 1229 is 614.5, 2 times over. This year of the expulsion of the Mathematici and the senatorial decree concerning the independence of Judea was the 614th year of Rome, and counting another 614.5 years into the future was 476 AD, fall of Rome. This year is the exact midpoint in Rome's history. 1. The Hitchhiker's Guide to Armageddon. 2. March of the Titans.